The Maguire decision. Why extending his contract makes perfect sense for United right now. Welcome to Unite United News, where we explain the decisions that matter. Hello and welcome back to Unite United News, where we help Manchester United fans understand the decisions being made at their football club. Contract extensions might not be as exciting as new signings, but they are just as important for building a successful team. Who you keep is often as crucial as who you bring in. So today we need to talk about a contract situation that will divide opinion among United fans. Harry Maguire is in talks about extending his stay at Old Trafford. And whether you love him or hate him, this decision deserves proper analysis. Thank you for being here. Now let us break down why this is happening and what it means for Manchester United. The Maguire situation explained. Harry Maguire's current contract at Manchester United is set to expire in June. That means he has less than a year left on his deal. In January, he will have less than 6 months remaining, which under football rules means clubs from other countries can approach him about signing a pre-contract agreement. They could secure him on a free transfer for next summer without United receiving any compensation. This is the situation Manchester United are trying to avoid. According to Fabrizio Romano, one of the most reliable transfer journalists in football, United are now in talks with Maguire about a new contract extension. Face-to-face meetings have already taken place between club officials and Maguire's representatives. More meetings will follow to discuss the specific conditions of any new deal. Romano also revealed something important about the club's thinking. Manchester United are happy with Maguire's contribution and his leadership. This is not a contract extension being offered reluctantly. This is not the club feeling forced to keep a player they do not really want. This is United actively choosing to extend Maguire's contract because they value what he brings to the team. Maguire currently earns £190,000 per week. That is a significant wage. Previous reports have suggested that Maguire would need to take a pay cut to sign a new contract. This makes sense given that he is 32 years old and no longer a guaranteed starter. Players in that situation typically accept reduced wages in exchange for security and the chance to stay at a big club. The key point here is that both sides want this to happen. Maguire wants to stay at Manchester United. The club wants to keep him. Now they just need to agree on the terms. That should be straightforward enough. Why this makes sense for Manchester United. Let us talk about why extending Harry Maguire's contract actually makes perfect sense for Manchester United right now. Because some fans will hear this news and immediately react negatively. They remember the criticism Maguire has faced. They remember the mistakes. They remember when he was captain and United were struggling. So they will ask why the club is keeping him. Here is why. First, Maguire has been playing well recently. Very well, actually. He has rediscovered the form that made United pay £80 million for him in the first place. He looks confident, composed, and reliable at the back. He is organizing the defense. He is winning his battles. He is doing exactly what you want from an experienced center-back. Second, leadership matters. Maguire might not be captain anymore, but he is still a leader in the dressing room. He has been at United for 6 years. He knows the club inside and out. He understands the pressures and expectations. Young players can learn from him. That experience is valuable. Third, depth is crucial. United cannot just have 2 good center-backs. They need 4 or 5 quality options to cover injuries, suspensions, and fixture congestion. Maguire provides that depth. He is good enough to start important matches when needed, but also happy to be a squad player when others are performing better. That flexibility is exactly what you want. Fourth, Maguire is English and homegrown. This matters for squad registration rules. Premier League teams need a certain number of homegrown players in their squads. Keeping Maguire helps United meet those requirements without having to sign another player specifically for that purpose. Fifth, letting Maguire leave for free would be terrible business. United paid £80 million for him. Even though that was several years ago, getting nothing in return when his contract expires would be a waste. Better to keep him for another year or 2 and get more value from that initial investment. Sixth, Ruben Amorim clearly rates him. This is perhaps the most important point. The manager wants Maguire to stay. Amorim sees value in having Maguire as part of his squad. And managers should get the players they want. If Amorim thinks Maguire can contribute, then United should back his judgment. When you add all of these factors together, extending Maguire's contract makes perfect sense. It is smart squad management. It is good business. It is supporting your manager's plans. What is not to like? Understanding the pay cut issue. Previous reports suggested that Maguire would need to accept reduced wages to sign a new contract. Let us talk about why this makes sense and why it should not be a problem. Maguire currently earns £190,000 per week. That is a very healthy salary. But he is no longer a guaranteed starter. He is no longer the captain. He is now a squad player, albeit an important one. In that situation, it is reasonable for the club to offer lower wages. This is not disrespectful to Maguire. This is just how football works. When players move from being regular starters to squad players, their wages typically decrease. When players reach their 30s and are no longer at their peak, they earn less than they did in their prime. This is normal and expected. The question is what level of pay cut we are talking about. A small reduction from $190,000 to maybe $150,000 per week? That would be reasonable and Maguire would probably accept it. A massive cut to $80,000 or $100,000 per week. That would be harder to justify and Maguire might reject it. Based on the fact that talks are ongoing and both sides want to reach an agreement, it seems likely that United are offering terms that Maguire considers fair. If the gap was too large, negotiations would have broken down already. The fact that meetings continue suggests both parties are close to a deal. Maguire knows his position. He knows he is not a guaranteed starter anymore. He knows he is in the latter stages of his career, but he also knows he can still contribute at the highest level. He will want wages that reflect his experience and quality, even if they are lower than what he currently earns. Finding that balance is what negotiations are all about. United want to reduce their wage bill for a player who does not start every week. Maguire wants to feel valued and fairly compensated. Somewhere in the middle, there is a number that works for both parties. That is what these ongoing talks are trying to find. The other contract situations at United. Romano's report about Maguire also mentioned that there are other players whose contracts expire in June. Let us quickly look at each of them and discuss what is likely to happen. Casemiro is the biggest name. The Brazilian midfielder is 33 years old and his contract is up at the end of the season. Unlike Maguire, it seems unlikely that Casemiro will sign a new deal. He was heavily linked with a move to Saudi Arabia in the summer to play alongside Cristiano Ronaldo at Al Nassr, but it did not happen. Reports suggest Casemiro stayed at United because he wanted to give himself the best chance of making Brazil's World Cup squad. However, once this season ends, that motivation disappears. The World Cup will be over. Casemiro will be 34 years old. The Saudi Pro League still offers enormous wages and an easier lifestyle than the demands of the Premier League. It seems very likely that Casemiro will leave as a free agent next summer and cash in on one final big contract in Saudi Arabia. This is not necessarily a bad thing for United. Casemiro has been better recently, but his best years are behind him. He cannot play twice a week anymore. He struggles against teams that press aggressively. United need to plan for his departure and bring in younger midfielders who can perform at the required level for many years. Tyrell Malaysia is another player whose contract expires in June. Malaysia was reportedly part of Amorim's summer bomb squad, the group of players who were told they were not in his plans. If the manager does not want him, there is no point offering a new contract. Malaysia will almost certainly leave as a free agent and find a new club where he can play regularly. Tom Heaton is the final player in this situation. The veteran goalkeeper signed a one-year contract extension in the summer, so his current deal runs until June. At his age and with his role as third-choice goalkeeper, it seems unlikely that he will get another extension. He will probably retire or move to a smaller club where he can finish his career. So of the four players whose contracts expire in June, only Maguire looks likely to sign a new deal. Casemiro will probably leave for Saudi Arabia. Malaysia will leave because the manager does not want him. Heaton will leave because his playing career is coming to an end. That makes Maguire's situation unique and important. What this says about Amorim's plans. The fact that Ruben Amorim wants to keep Harry Maguire tells us something important about how the Portuguese manager views his squad and his plans for Manchester United. First, it shows Amorim values experience. He could have decided to move on from older players and build a squad full of young talent. But instead, he recognizes that having experienced professionals like Maguire is important for squad balance. Young players need veterans around them to learn from. Second, it shows Amorim is pragmatic. Some managers have big egos and want to put their stamp on everything immediately. They get rid of players signed by previous managers just to show they are in charge. Amorim is not doing that. He is keeping players who can help him regardless of who signed them. Third, it shows Amorim understands squad depth. He knows United need multiple quality center-backs. He knows injuries and suspensions will happen. He knows fixture congestion will test the squad. Having Maguire available gives him options and flexibility. Fourth, it shows Amorim values leadership. The comment from Romano that United are happy with Maguire's leadership is significant. Amorim clearly sees Maguire as someone who helps set standards in training and around the club. That leadership is valuable even when Maguire is not playing. Fifth, it shows Amorim is building for stability rather than revolution. He is not tearing everything down and starting from scratch. He is working with what he has, improving gradually, and making smart decisions about who to keep and who to move on. All of these are positive signs. They suggest Amorim is a mature, intelligent manager who understands what it takes to build sustained success at a big club. Quick fixes and dramatic changes might generate headlines, but patient, smart squad building is what actually works. The criticism Maguire has faced. We cannot talk about Harry Maguire without acknowledging the criticism he has faced during his time at Manchester United. Because that criticism is why some fans will be unhappy about this contract extension. Maguire became the world's most expensive defender when United signed him for £80 million from Leicester City in 2019. That fee created massive expectations, put enormous pressure on him from day one. Every mistake was magnified. Every poor performance was scrutinized mercilessly. When Ole Gunnar Solskjaer made Maguire captain, the pressure increased even more. Now he was not just an expensive defender. He was the leader of Manchester United, the symbol of the club, the person who had to take responsibility when things went wrong. And things went wrong a lot. United's defensive record was poor for much of Maguire's captaincy. The team leaked goals. They made mistakes. They looked vulnerable. And as captain and record signing, Maguire took much of the blame. Some of that blame was deserved. Maguire did make mistakes. He did have poor games. He did look slow against fast attackers. There were legitimate reasons to criticize his performances at times. But some of the criticism went too far. Maguire became a scapegoat. Fans turned on him viciously. He was booed by England supporters. He received abuse on social media. The pile-on became excessive and unfair. Through all of that, Maguire kept working. He kept trying. He never hid. He never gave up. He showed character and professionalism even when the abuse was at its worst. That resilience is actually one of his most admirable qualities. Now, with the captaincy no longer weighing on him, with the pressure reduced, Maguire is playing well again. He looks like the defender United thought they were signing. Calm, composed, reliable. This is why Amorim wants to keep him. Why some fans will still be unhappy. Despite all the logical reasons for extending Maguire's contract, some Manchester United fans will still be unhappy about this news. Let us acknowledge their concerns because they are not all unreasonable. Some fans will argue that £190,000 per week, even with a reduction, is too much for a squad player. They will say United should be moving on from expensive older players and investing in younger talent instead. This is a fair point, especially if United's wage bill is already too high. Some fans will say that Maguire represents the failures of the past few years. They want a clean break from that era. They want new faces and a fresh start. Keeping players from the unsuccessful recent past feels like settling for mediocrity rather than aiming for excellence. Some fans simply do not rate Maguire as a player. They think he is too slow for modern football. They think he is not good enough for a club with United's ambitions. They want better players in every position, including the backup positions. Some fans will worry about the message this sends. If players who are no longer first choice can still get new contracts on good wages, what incentive is there to improve? What motivation do younger players have if established players keep their spots regardless of form? These concerns are not completely without merit. There are legitimate questions about squad building, wage structure, and ambition, but they need to be balanced against the practical realities of managing a football club. The reality is that United need depth. They need experience. They need leaders. They need homegrown players. And they need all of this while being financially responsible. Extending Maguire's contract on reduced wages addresses all of these needs. It might not be exciting, but it is smart. What happens next? So what happens now with Harry Maguire's contract situation? Based on Romano's information, we can make some educated guesses. Talks will continue over the coming weeks. Both sides want to reach an agreement, so the negotiations should be positive. The main issue to resolve is the exact wage level and length of the contract. Once those details are agreed, a new deal will be signed. Maguire will probably sign a 1 or 2 year extension. At 32 years old, anything longer than that would be excessive. A 1-year deal would give United security for next season while keeping their options open. A 2-year deal would provide a bit more stability and ensure Maguire is around for longer. The wages will definitely be lower than his current $190,000 per week. Exactly how much lower depends on the negotiations, but something around $130,000 to $150,000 per week would seem reasonable for an experienced squad player. Once the contract is signed, Maguire will continue in his current role, starting some games when needed, being available as backup when others are playing, providing leadership and experience in training and around the squad. This is a sensible role for a player at his stage of his career. For United, extending Maguire's contract ticks a box and allows them to focus on other priorities. They do not need to worry about losing him for free. They do not need to sign a replacement. They can concentrate on strengthening other positions where the need is greater. Comparing this to other contract decisions. It is interesting to compare how United are handling Maguire's contract to how they are dealing with Casemiro's situation. Both are experienced players in their 30s. Both are no longer guaranteed starters. But United are extending one and likely letting the other leave. Why? The difference probably comes down to several factors. Maguire has been in better form recently than Casemiro. Maguire has more years left at a high level because centre-backs typically age better than midfielders. And perhaps most importantly, replacing Casemiro is easier than replacing Maguire because there are more quality midfielders available in the transfer market than quality centre-backs. United also probably realize that they cannot replace every aging player simultaneously. If they let both Maguire and Casemiro leave in the same summer, they would need to sign 2 experienced players to replace them. That is expensive and complicated. Better to stagger these transitions, keeping Maguire for another year or 2 while bringing in a younger midfielder to eventually replace Casemiro. This is smart squad management. It shows United are thinking strategically about how to refresh the squad without destabilizing it. Young players need experienced teammates around them. You cannot just fill a dressing room with 23-year-olds and expect it to work. Final thoughts. Trust the process. Harry Maguire signing a contract extension at Manchester United will not make headlines around the world. It will not get fans excited about the future. It is not the glamorous news that everyone wants to hear. But it is the right decision for the club at this moment in time. Maguire has been playing well. He provides valuable depth and experience. He is a leader in the dressing room. He helps meet homegrown player requirements. And most importantly, the manager wants to keep him. All of these factors point toward extending his contract making sense. Some fans will disagree. Some will never forgive Maguire for the difficult years when United struggled and he was captain. Some will always see him as a symbol of failure regardless of how well he plays now. That is their right. But the people running Manchester United, the people who see him train every day, the people who work with him directly, they value what Maguire brings. Ruben Amorim, a manager United fans should trust given the recent improvement in results, wants Maguire to stay. That should count for something. Contract extensions for squad players might not be exciting. But building a successful football club requires making lots of small, smart decisions like this. Keep the right players. Let the wrong ones leave. Manage the wage bill responsibly. Provide depth across the squad. Value experience as well as potential. These are the building blocks of sustained success. And extending Harry Maguire's contract is one of those building blocks. Not the most important one, but a useful one nonetheless. Thank you for thinking clearly with us. Thank you for joining us at United News, where we try to analyze decisions based on logic rather than emotion. We know Harry Maguire divides opinion among Manchester United fans. We know some people will never rate him regardless of how well he plays. But we also know that sometimes the smart decision is not the popular decision. Extending Maguire's contract makes sense for multiple reasons. Provides squad depth. Keeps an experienced professional at the club. It backs the manager's judgment. It avoids losing a player for free. These are all positives that outweigh any negatives. We encourage you to keep an open mind about decisions like this. Not every move a football club makes needs to be exciting. Sometimes the boring, practical decisions are the most important ones. Sometimes keeping the right squad player is more valuable than signing a glamorous new name. Stay with us at United News throughout the season as we continue to analyze all the decisions Manchester United make. We will always try to give you honest, thoughtful analysis rather than pandering to popular opinion or chasing clicks with outrage. Harry Maguire's contract extension will be announced officially in the coming weeks. When it is, remember that this is a smart, sensible move that helps United build a balanced squad. And remember that sometimes the best decisions are the ones that make sense rather than the ones that make noise. Until next time, trust the process, support the manager's decisions, and keep believing that Manchester United are building something worthwhile under Ruben Amorim. Glory, glory, Man United!